I have been married to my husband for 25 years. He has two children from his first marriage, Kai, who's 28, and Mia is 27. My husband's first marriage ended during the pregnancy with Mia when his ex moved another man into their home. She told my husband to leave, and she was planning to marry the other guy. A DNA test was done when Mia was born, and another one was done on Kai later. Custody was decided, and the divorce was finalized when Mia was still a baby. I met him 6 months later, and we married after a year together. My husband's ex made our lives a nightmare. She alienated the kids from me. We were in and out of court and therapy, and they were always placed in mediation and co-parenting classes to try and get them to a better place. Nothing helped. Her second husband left, and that only made her worse. Then she married again, but that also ended. My relationship with my stepkids breaks my heart. I love them. I've always tried to be a respectful and loving step-parent who doesn't talk bad about their mom, overstep my place, or assume that they would love me like their parents. But I hoped we would be close. Instead, they have been rude or distant and cold. But I love them regardless, and my husband took the lead with them. When my husband and I had two children together, they did not bond with them, but we still hoped time and therapy would help form some relationship. Now my stepson is due to get married. He told my husband our kids were not invited, since it was a child-free wedding. But then he told me what I couldn't wear because the two mothers were going to match the theme, and I'm not counted in that. He said that I wouldn't be given a corsage to wear so people would know that I was not one of the parents. He said I would not be mentioned in any toast. I was not welcome to give a toast, and the photos with the parents and immediate family would not include me. After my husband asked him why he was making such a big deal out of this, he said I needed to know my place and admitted he didn't even want me there. So I decided not to attend and stayed home with my children. I've reached a breaking point where I no longer see a future where we might get along better, and clearly I'm not wanted at all. But my husband's family are furious and say I was invited, so I should go. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You're giving him the gift he wants. You not there. Don't put yourself through it. Take your kids on vacation. Your husband's son, because that's what he is, has told you the role you play in his life and his expectation for your attendance at the wedding, and he doesn't want you to go. An invitation is just that, an invite, and you're free to accept or decline as you see fit. He wants her there to show the world how much he despises her. By not going, OP is ruining all of his well-planned revenge. He wants you to know your place. Not only should you not go, but you should also hire a pack of wild clowns to show up during the ceremony. And your husband needs to tell his family to leave you alone. An invitation made grudgingly and with all these terms and conditions on it is not a sincere invitation. Agreed, the stepson consents to have OP at his wedding so that he can performatively demonstrate just how unimportant to him she is, which is backward, mind you, because if he truly didn't care about her, he wouldn't go to so much effort. But OP can choose whether to be treated like this or not. Of course, no self-respecting person would consent to be treated like this. So OP, stand your ground. Ask him and his flying monkeys why he wants you there so much, if the only purpose of the invitation is to humiliate you. Your in-laws want you there because they don't want to acknowledge the dysfunction in their son's family. I would advise you to tell your husband, in no uncertain terms, that he should not be seated next to his ex and not stand next to him. Divorced before my grandson was 1. She has again met the love of her life and needs money for the wedding. I said I would skip the wedding, but I'll help her with the next one. Now she's crying to her mother, calling me an idiot for not believing in her future. I've managed to stay married for 33 years. It's not that difficult. My wife wants me to make peace by giving her some money, but it's a waste. Am I the idiot for my bad attitude towards my daughter's relationship? Edit. I don't want to insult people when I say it's not that difficult, so I feel I should explain what I meant. I met my wife when she was married to a guy I worked with. He passed away in an industrial accident. I saw it happen. After the funeral, we became friends. 3 years later, we realized we cared for each other, so we started dating. We had our ups and downs and went for counseling when we went through a rough patch. We work hard at being there for each other. My wife is beautiful and probably had many opportunities to be unfaithful, but she chose to stay with me and work on our marriage. I saw all the young guys my age having fun and partying when I was using my wages to pay for my son's medical bills. I also chose to stay and work on my marriage. I'm trying to remember who said it, but it also applies to marriage. In war, everything is simple, but even the simplest things are difficult. Not the idiot. Was your comment callous? A bit, but that doesn't make it untrue. $20,000 over 3 weddings is fine. She can pay her own way now. This girl has had 3 weddings in 7 years. She needs to hear a harsh truth. My relationship with my car has lasted longer than all of the loves of her life combined times 2. My petty self would offer to pay for premarital counseling instead. Might be worth the expense. Your daughter's marriage success is directly proportional to the amount you contribute to her weddings, where 1 year equals $5,000. So, if I'm right, for her next marriage to last as long as your own, you'll need to invest $165,000. At age 32, she can pay for her own party. About your attitude towards her relationships, whether this is the love of her life or the next in line divorce, she can still pay for her own party. It sounds like your daughter thinks you're an ATM though, so tell her to elope next time, and the time after that, and I think your daughter likes the idea of a wedding more than staying married. More seriously, you are under no obligation to fund another party for her. Save the money for your grandkids' education and/or for their therapy, or just go on a vacation with the grandkids. I am honestly mostly shocked and confused, but basically, my little brother, 28, and his wife, 29, and their kids were having dinner at my house with me and my wife, both late 30s, female. Their eldest son is a happy preschooler and absolutely fun to be around. He's always talking and I adore it. Admittedly, my wife isn't a huge fan of kids, but she knows how much I love my nephews and my brother and his wife, so she compromises, the same way I compromise with her having her homophobic mother over very often. Anyway, we ate dinner and sat in the living room. I put on my nephew's favorite movie, which is Coco. He kept telling us how he wanted to be a singer like the main character, Miguel, and would sing along and perform every song. My wife didn't look entertained, but she was involved in talking to us, so I didn't think there was an issue. Well, he kept singing this one song, and my wife slammed her cup of tea on the table, yelled at him to shut up, and proceeded to say that he was a terrible singer and would never be like Miguel. He obviously began to sob and ran to his parents, who were furious. They told my wife that and she laughed. My question is, why are you with someone who could be cruel to a member of your family, one who cannot stand up for himself and is the most vulnerable, and calls you names for calling her out for what she is? Frankly, it's divorce-worthy. Why? Because anyone who would treat a little kid with such cruelty is probably capable of just about anything and can't be trusted. She likely just ruined your relationship with your brother and sister-in-law. How many more relationships will she ruin in the coming years due to this indefensible behavior? The fact that she doesn't feel bad about it and is doubling down is just icing on the cake. I personally would have great difficulty looking at her the same way again after watching her crush a kid, none of whom can sing well, like that. Gross as heck. Bro, seriously, I have to ask you how you feel now that your wife was abusive to a child, then turned around, laughed about it, then excused her behavior because it's the truth? Are you okay with all of that? I can tell you're not because of what you said here. You know it's terribly wrong. So why are you asking? Also, to salvage the situation, she expected you to take her side when she bullied a child? Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what wife needed to be defended from. I'm questioning if she thought it was wrong. She's just trying to ignore she did it because she's not sorry. That's a major red flag. If you let this pass, then who knows what her behavior toward your nephew and any future children in the family will be. I'd be seriously rethinking this whole relationship. My wife and I have 2 daughters, Julia, kindergartner, and Alina, toddler. I've always been close to my family, and my parents are really involved with my daughters. They regularly babysat Julia since she was around 1, and then Alina. Currently, it's 2 or 3 times a week. I know that sounds like a lot, but it always seemed to be their choice. We were always able to afford normal childcare. Originally, that was the plan when my leave was finished. However, my parents thought it was a waste since mom could watch them and they could spend time with their grandchild instead. The whole system happened because they asked for it. We do thank them and appreciate it, and our girls are really close to them. However, I overheard my parents complaining to my sister about it around 3 weeks ago. Apparently, we're being selfish and basically just pawning off our children, abandoning our responsibility. I was pretty upset and we ended up arguing about it. They said that we're essentially crap parents who refuse to do our job, and we shouldn't just leave our children to them. But we literally only did that because they wanted to be there for our kids. We didn't bring it up or force it. Whenever they couldn't, we found backup options. Since then, we haven't left Julia or Alina with my parents. After discovering how two-faced they were about it, I have no interest in it. So we've got a temporary alternative and are looking into more permanent options. Last week, my mom asked when we would bring the kids over, and I told her we weren't. I don't want to abandon my duty, and I feel uncomfortable having my children around someone who thinks so little of my wife and me. I mean, I don't want our girls to start thinking we don't care. My parents are mad and think I'm being entitled and unreasonable, but I think it's a reasonable boundary. My sister has jumped in, claiming I'm a horrible son and taking advantage of them, but they clearly didn't think I should give my responsibility away to them, so I'm not. My wife is conflicted, and I know Julia was really close to them, so part of me is worried my reaction is unreasonable. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. Your mom was talking crap behind your back to your sister, then blamed you when she got caught, then doubled down and accused you and your wife of bad parenting. If you could walk up and hear it, so could your kids. Stay strong. You're not wrong. She is. I think they like the martyr role, and that's all. They did this to themselves. If you want, force them to admit it was their choice publicly. After that, they can have babysitting time with the kids. Till then, they can suck on an onion. Disagree. OP's parents sound like mine. If I've learned anything, it's this. You can't win with people like this. If you start letting the kids back, they'll complain you're taking advantage. If you don't, you're keeping them from their grandchildren. If it were me, I'd find a childcare provider and squash any further discussion of my parents' babysitting. Otherwise, the argument will likely repeat itself. You can't please people who want to be the victim. So, I, 23 male, and my girlfriend, Jen, 20, moved in together about 4 months ago. We know living together is harder than just dating, so we sat down and agreed on several things, like we're responsible for our own laundry. We also split chores on a rotation, like I'll clean the bathroom one week and she'll clean it the next week. We agreed if one person cooks or buys the food, the other person washes the dishes. We also agreed if we have friends over, the person who cooks doesn't do the dishes. This is because we don't have huge parties. Our apartment is small, and we only invite a few friends, so there are not a ton of dishes. Anyway, I like to cook and I'm better at it, so it just works out that I cook more often. Don't get me wrong, she cooks too, but much less. So this weekend, we had her best friend and her boyfriend over, and I cooked dinner. We ate and had a good time. Once dinner was over, I brought my plates and stuff to the sink, and then returned to my seat. We were talking and having a good time. Then Jen got up and told the group she wanted to do the dishes before we headed out. Her best friend asked why I didn't help, and I answered because it was her job. I didn't think anything of it, and we eventually went out. Jen was acting off all week, and when I asked her what was wrong, She answered she wasn't feeling well. Today she came home and she said we needed to talk. She tells me that she doesn't want to do the dishes anymore and that my answer to her friend sucked. I almost didn't know what she was talking about because I didn't realize that I had done anything wrong. Then I remembered the dinner and told her that what I said was true. It was my job to cook and hers to wash. She said I could have worded it differently. So now she refuses to wash the dishes. I said that's fine, she can cook, and I'll wash the dishes, and she can post it all over social media and tell her friends it's my job to wash the dishes. I don't have a problem with that. She didn't like that answer either and stormed off to bed. This morning I made the breakfast for both of us. She ate without saying anything, then left her dirty dishes in the sink, then went out. I guess she's serious about not washing the dishes again. Not the idiot. You could have been clearer and said, it's her turn because I cooked. Pretty sure her friends ragged on her about what you said, and instead of just explaining it and moving on, she let it get to her. She doesn't want to do the dishes anymore? That's just childish. I would talk to her again and see if she's ready to have an adult conversation and act like one. I wouldn't cook for her anymore. She can do it all herself. You're not her mom or her maid. She can buy paper products and TV dinners then. It sounds like her friend told her that saying it's her job to do the dishes, it's a red flag, pulled from some random list, regardless of context. Now, being 20, she's struggling with the red flag and considering her life choices, because that's what you're supposed to do in red flags world. You are the idiot. You made it sound like she's your maid. It's her job. That's a very dismissive thing to say. Thinking before you speak is a good rule in any relationship. She's hurt that you think so little of her. That may not be true, but it sounded like it when you said it. Apologize without any buts and move on.